Hello friends. So, we are at the last discussion of the entire course, and today we are going to discuss about how to write the report. The entire course is on about social research. We started from what scientific research means to the different component of the or a basic element of a scientific research. Then we gradually proceed to sampling, sample size determination. We talked about different research designs. We talk about different errors. Also we talked about different data collection and the observation techniques. Okay. And at last, after the collection of the data, we talk about how to analyze your data to draw meaningful inferences in terms of the use of the inferential as well as descriptive statistics. Okay. And also as a part of this course, we have a few invited lecture on a important topic like qualitative design. Okay. So, because most of the things we are talking about in this course, that is concerned with the quantitative research. Okay. So, to broaden the diversity of the course, okay, we have a series of invited lecture, 3 invited lecture particularly by renowned Professor Basaprabhu Jhilli. Okay. So, now we are at the end discussion of this course. Now, if you are a student mostly, okay, so here this particular discussion is mostly for the suitable for the both the who are the enrolled students. Okay. So, and also have usefulness for the other researcher also. So, whether it is a student or whether it is an independent researcher or professional researcher, okay, so they need to submit report, okay, at the end of their research. Okay. So, now for the student, okay, this report we call them thesis. Okay. So, what is thesis? So, thesis basically demonstrate the mastery of the particular scholar in that particular subject of the research. Okay. And it also demonstrates the ability of the researcher to create new knowledge. So, that was also one of the purpose of the science. Okay. So, now what thesis is basically? So, thesis is an academic document or thesis is a document that is submitted, okay, in support of the fulfillment of a particular academic degree. Okay. And it is generally based on the original research. Okay. It is generally based on the original research which is carried out by the students. Okay. So, now I think in many of the universities, okay, so they use the term thesis and dissertation alternatively. Okay. So, now whether these terms are similar or different, okay, I think many students may have question in your mind. Okay. So, though they are used alternatively, there is minute differences. Okay, like thesis is basically it is much more concise. Okay, mostly the master's work we designate them a report of the master's work, we designate them as a thesis. Okay. On the other hand, the report of your PhD, okay, that is Doctor of Philosophy. Okay. So, that is generally designated as a dissertation. Okay. Now, this thesis term, it basically came from the Greek word, okay, that means tithenai, okay, that came from this particular Greek word, okay, that means to place or position. On the other hand, if you look into this dissertation, that has a Latin origin, okay, that is dissertare or disserere, okay, disserere. Okay, so that means to continue or to discuss, and the second term disserere, that means to examine or discuss. Okay. So, as I already told, okay, now it depends on the terminology used in a particular university, that whether it is designated as a thesis or a dissertation. Okay. So, now the dissertation in case of the part of the academic activity, okay, so whether it is a thesis or whether it is a dissertation, okay, that have a fixed structure. Now, this structure generally this modified according to the guideline of a particular university, but in general all the thesis they generally contain this particular section. Okay. Thesis generally start with a title page, okay, then it generally followed with a number of certificates. Okay. So, certificates about the copyright, certificates about the certificates of the head of the department, okay, certificate by your supervisor, okay, and then it generally followed with an abstract. Okay. After abstract, there will be the content page, means it is the what are there inside the thesis, okay, that is mentioned, okay, and after the content generally or as a part of the content. Okay, so there is separate page for the list of tables. Okay, there is separate page for the list of this photographs or illustrations. Okay, and list of the accompanying material or the abbreviation of the short form used in the within the thesis, and then it generally followed by the author declaration. Okay, and after that we generally introduce the introduction chapter is introduced. Okay, so in the main part of the thesis or in the main body of the thesis, there are 5 important chapter. It started with the introduction. Okay, then it generally followed with the review of literature. Okay, in certain universities, after the introduction or review of literature, there is another added chapter, like that is the theoretical orientation. Mostly we add the theoretical orientation in case of the topic of the thesis is too novel. Okay, it is quite novel in nature. So, to clear the understanding of the reader or clear the understanding of the student or expert who will go through this particular thesis, we add a additional chapter of theoretical framework. Okay, after the review of literature, but mostly it introduction, review of literature, then it followed by the research methodology chapter. Okay, and after the research methodology, there is a result and discussion. Now again, depending on the universities, the result and discussion chapter may be separate or may be put into within one chapter. Okay, then it generally succeeded by this result and discussion is followed by this summary and conclusion chapter, and lastly there are the references or bibliography, which mentioning the whatever source you used in the particular thesis. Okay, and after the bibliography chapter, okay, so there will be the list of the appendices. Okay, and okay, list of the appendices. So that is the overall structure of the thesis. Okay, starting from the title page to the bibliography or the list of appendices. Okay, so now I took this structure of the thesis from one of the IITs in India. So as I already told, depending on the university, these things little bit variation will be there. Okay, so this IIT, the particular IIT is recommending that each of the dissertation of the thesis must have this 13 chapter, which some of them are optional in nature, some of these are mandatory in nature. Okay, and they are also indicating that how the thesis should be typed. Okay, whether it will be printed in the both of the page, whether it is printed in the single pages. Okay, what should be the pagination type, whether it is Roman numeric or whether it required the normal number, natural number, or whether it should be unnumbered. Okay, what should be the style of your references. Okay, so we will take a much in-depth look into all those, or we will discuss one by one all this particular chapter. Okay, so as I already told, the thesis generally started with the title. Okay, so the very first page of the thesis, it is your title page. Okay, so what are the others things which need to included into your title page? Okay, so along with your title, the name of the scholar, your department, okay, institution or degree program against which you have done this particular research, okay, your submission date, okay, and also it contains the student ID, name of your supervisor, university logo and all such, okay, depending on the university's guideline. Like, okay, now what should be the structure of the title? Okay, so title is the basic purpose of the title is that it summarizes the entire study. Okay, so a good title generally contain as few words as possible to serve the purpose. Okay, so title should not be some of the general guidelines for writing title is that the title should not be too long, especially you use that a study of, a thesis of, okay, an examination of. So this particular term should not be included into the title, okay, because these words are the obvious in nature. Okay, so no need to include these terms in your title. Okay, so now catchy and specific language may be used, okay, but it should be within the context of your study. Okay, and so in case of the title writing, you need not to be strictly adhered to the grammatical style. Okay, you can little bit, you may be little bit independence in here. Okay, also especially in case of the social scientific research or the research in the behavioral field, the geographical as well as the temporal scope or the indication of the study must be there, like where the study was carried out. Okay, it should be included into the title. Okay, and also if possible you can use if there is some significant methodological tool you used, okay, inside your thesis. Okay, so you can actually give indication of that particular methodological tool into your thesis also. Okay, so here for your purpose I give this title from the research of my students. Okay, so that was by the student named Ms. Shruti Misra. Okay, so her title was assessment of the behavioral intention of the university students toward the e-courses with special reference to the internet addiction. Okay, so here one particular internet addiction part was there, that is the significant or USP of this particular thesis. Okay, and it is carried out in a number of Indian universities. Okay, so that is mentioned. Along with that, whatever I already discussed, okay, the name of the university, name of the guide, all these things, and the submission date, ID number, okay, submission years, okay, so that is also mentioned here. Okay, so generally the title page, after title page there will be a number of certificate. Now for certificate there are already fixed format for the universities, okay, and there will be the list of table, list of your chapters, okay, the content means list of your chapters, okay, and then it generally followed with the abstract of the study. Okay. So the abstract usually summarize the whole research in a particular one page. Okay. For writing abstract, okay, it is always preferable to complete the abstract in the one page, and it should be limited in the number of words also. Okay, like 300 words is the optimal choices. It can go up to the 400 or 500 words depending on the type of the abstract. Okay, so the abstract, what is the must including or what should be there in the abstract? Okay, so that is the abstract should be such that there should be the overall, that it will describe the overall purpose of the study, okay, along with the research problem. Okay, it should indicate the what was the research design you used. You should use the what are the significant findings from your study and a brief summary of your interpretation. Okay. So now abstract may be different type, like it may be critical abstract, okay, it may be descriptive abstract, it may be informative abstract, it may be highlight abstract. Okay. So now for the purpose of the thesis we mostly prefer the informative abstract. So informative abstract, okay, it included the from the purpose of the study to the significant result, okay, along with the methodology used. Okay. So we use the informative abstract, like other abstract like critical abstract, okay, highlighting abstract, they basically used for the writing the research paper. Okay. Now during the writing the abstract you should remember certain very important points, that in case of the title we use sometimes we use the catchy words. Okay, so in case of the abstract this catchy word need not to be, or that should not be there. Okay, so it should not be, again the contextual background should not be, it be very brief. Okay, and redundant phrases or this repetitive information, acronyms or abbreviation, that should not be there. Okay, and the abstract should not contain any review of literature or references. Okay, and jargon or this technical term also should be avoided. Okay, so I already told the citation of the references, that should not be included. Okay, and also in abstract, okay, there should not be any image or any figure, okay, any illustration, okay, that should not be there within the abstract. Okay, so it generally comes into the mind of the students that whether to use the citation in the abstract or not. So it is not generally included in the, or it is not included in the abstract. Okay, so now after the abstract, the major chapter that generally followed, that is the introduction chapter. Okay, so introduction in case of the thesis, that is much general in nature. Okay, so it started with the general information and gradually proceed to the research problem or the objective of the study. Okay, so it first start with the broader scope, then it narrow down towards the objective or problem of the study. Okay, so I already mentioned it should include the scope, context, significance of your research. Okay, so what is the purpose of the research? Okay, that should be there. Okay, it should discussed about the broader context, and then it should also discussed about the context in reference to the study area. Okay, then you gradually go to through this particular process. This entire introduction should be such that it gradually leads the reader towards the problem you are investigating. Okay, so it generally after all this contextual information, okay, so which is elaborated by the graphs, cross referencing, okay, it generally go towards this problem statement. Okay, so problem statement is the next major part of the introduction. After problem statement there should be the research question and as well as the objective of the study. Okay, on the basis of the problem statement you form the research questions, and on the research questions are in the assertive terms, okay, that is translated into the objectives. Okay, so the introduction chapter does not complete here. Okay, so after the objective generally another two important paragraphs are included, that is about the scope of the present study and the delimitation of the study. Okay, so what should be included in this introduction I already mentioned. Okay, so now another important part of the introduction chapter is the delimitation of the study. Simply delimitation means, okay, or what are the alternative methods or approaches you can also take as a part of the research, but for the sake of this particular research, okay, due to rational due to your rational consideration, okay, so you exclude those particular methods, okay. So this is the delimitation of the study, okay. So what can be accomplished or what can be done in the study, but has not been done within this present study, okay. So that is the delimitation, okay. So during the writing the delimitation of the study, you can use these particular choices, okay, to write down the delimitation of the study. You can look into the objectives, okay, you can look into the research question you address, okay. So that like a particular you are addressing the internet addiction. So why not the other particular problem with the internets, okay, which the students may face, okay. So these things, okay, you can also delimit your study based on your this investigation methods, okay, like maybe you are using the sample survey research, okay, or maybe you are using an experimental research. So why not other type of research, okay. So these things are basically included into the delimitation of the study, okay. So now after the introduction part, it generally followed with for most of the thesis with the review of literature, okay. So on review of literature, we already had quite good discussion that how to do the review of literature, what should be there, okay. So now for this thesis writing part, okay, so I will only discuss about some of the very important information, okay. So now review of literature, okay, it basically consists of the summary of the key sources, okay. So now for social scientific purpose usually, okay, both the summary and synthesis, okay, so that should be included into the review of literature, okay. So you should try to give a new interpretation of the old material by combining the new and old interpretation, okay. And the review of literature chapter must end with an conclusion and as well as the research gap you identified based on this particular review of literature, okay, because this research gap again on the other hand should be aligned with the problem statement, okay. So this research gap is identified based on the whatever review or whatever the cross referencing you did in the chapter, okay. So now the next question generally comes into the mind, how to organize the review of literature. So there are two popular ways to organize the review of literature, okay, that is by chronologically by events or by publication, okay, or by thematic categories, okay. Now chronologically by by publication means when this particular the source you are using, when this was particularly published, okay. We generally either you can start with the latter date or you can start with the earlier date, then you can go in the increasing order, okay. So now it's again depend on the style of the university. Now instead of doing that, you can go by you can organize your review of literature around the topic, like the broad objective area. Like if you are talking about the knowledge of or you are talking about the internet addiction of the students, okay. So what about the internet addiction across the general population? What the other factors, okay, or what the problems the internet addiction particularly create, okay. So all those things may be included into a particular topic of or particular headings of the review of literature, okay. So now in case of the social science research, mostly we use both of them, okay. Like the reviews are first they are categorized on the broader topics or areas. Now within the broader topics or areas, we generally categorize or we generally arrange our reviews by the date of publication. Now after the review of literature, it generally followed with the research methodology chapter, okay. So now research methodology chapter have a number of important aspects are covered within the research methodology chapter, okay. Generally in the social science, we start with that talking about the universe or we start with the talking about the study area, okay. So you may start with the talking about the overall approach also, and it directly followed with the research areas and the design of the research, okay. And as I already told, most of the research in the social science field or agricultural extension field, that is carried out by using the sample survey method, okay. So generally it followed with the sampling steps, okay, that how you selected or how you did the sampling in the different stages with the justification, because justification means there may be random sampling, okay. Mostly in case of the social science research, we used to do the multi-stage sampling, okay. So multi-stage sampling mean in some steps maybe one sampling method is used, or maybe in the next step it is another sampling methods, okay. Maybe the universe was selected purposively like a particular state, okay, then gradually you select some random district from them, okay. So now for all of this your decision about the sampling method, the justification also mentioned within this particular paragraph. Okay. Now, it usually follows the data collection methods and list of variables, that is the very important part of the research methodology. Okay. So, along with the list of variables, you need to mention that whether you use the tool which was already developed by someone, or you develop what type of tool you used, or who developed that tool, whether it is developed for specifically it's developed specially for the purpose of the research, you have to mention that also. Along with that, okay, the what type of data you generally collect using that tool. Okay. So, you can in the later stage of the analysis and interpretation, okay, you can actually convert the data into some other level, okay, like the higher level data can be brought down into the lower level, but in the form, okay, the form with which the primary data is collected, okay, like for the age you directly ask the years, okay, so it is in the ratio level, or the farming experiences you ask or the income, you ask the income directly in terms of the annual income, so it basically falls under the ratio level. Okay. So, in the form the data is originally collected, okay, so that is mentioned in the measurement level. Okay. And it generally followed by an important paragraph, okay, or important heading, okay, that is operationalization of the variables. Okay. Means how the variables you mentioned in your list of variables, okay, like in the list of variables also you can categorize the variable like dependent, independent variable or situational variable depending on the purpose of the study. So, how you are going to measure this particular variable, what are the measurement scheme you devised, okay, so all these things are mentioned in the operationalization of the variables. This chapter is very important in case of social science, because okay, many of the variables I already mentioned, they have different meaning in the different context. Okay. Next, this operationalization of the variables generally followed, or this operationalization of the variables generally we mention the categorization scheme of the variable after the collection of the data, and it follows with the tools or some special tools if it is designed for the research, okay, their reliability and validity analysis, as well as the statistical technique which used for the analysis or interpretation of the data. Okay. And also, though most of the student do not include this particular part, okay, you should use or you should add that is a particular designated pages, okay, for that what is the justification for using your methods, why you use this particular methods. If you add this generally add value to your thesis. Okay. And after the research methodology chapter, generally followed by directly by the result and discussion. Okay. So, as I already told that in depending on that university, okay, so there may be the result or discussion chapter may be separated, or it may be put in the same pages, okay, or in the same chapter. Okay. So, now result and discussion chapter, the result section talks about in terms of the descriptive statistics, okay, or inferential statistics about discuss about it generally present your result. Okay. And also explain that whether your result directly related with your objective also, and whether this hypothesis, what is the status of your hypothesis based on the this inferential statistics, those are generally included into the result chapter. Okay. So, the result chapter generally ended with the summary of your entire testing of the hypothesis, because most of the cases a study may have a number of hypotheses formed, okay, that is included into the introduction, okay, that should include into the introduction, okay, after the objective, okay, and the result of this hypothesis, okay, generally presented at the end of the result chapter. Okay. So, result generally followed with the discussion. Okay. As I already told that some of the universities they use the result and discussion is actually put in within a chapter. So, in that cases, okay, so result is generally written at the starting of the starting of the result and discussion of a particular variable. Okay, like if you are talking about the knowledge distribution of among the or achievement score among the students. Okay. So, first you describe what result you get based on your analysis, okay, and then you present the required table, graphs, all those things, and then you put the discussion part, okay, just at the bottom of the graphical or the table you added or graphics you added. Okay. So, discussion generally have three important part. It generally explain the result. So, if this particular result I get, so why I get that result, so whether there is any unexpected findings, okay, if I find some unexpected trend, so what is the possible reason for this particular trend. Okay. So, in the discussion section you try to identify the different trend, okay, based on the result. Okay. So, result is much more general in nature. Okay. So, discussion part is much more specific. Okay. So, our interest in the differences. Okay. So, what is already known to everyone, okay, so that is not of that much interest. Okay. Then that discussion should be the cross referenced, means discussion part should be always supported by the findings of the other. So now in supporting this finding, that should not be only the positive findings should not be included, means you may include those particular research by the other researcher which support your findings. So there the alternative viewpoint must also included. That means it should be critical in nature, including both the positive and the negative aspect of your result. Okay. And generally the discussion for each of the variable, okay, that ended with the reason or the recommendation, what you recommend based on your result. Okay. So that is the deduction part, or a conclusion, okay, smaller conclusion or deduced conclusion based on the entire result and the discussion. Okay. So I already told that the summary statistics, this hypothesis testing summary, either you can in case of the result and discussion written in the together, okay, so it is put at the end of this chapter, okay, or in case of it is separated, generally after the result you put the test summary of your hypothesis. Okay. And after that this chapter is followed with the summary and conclusion chapter in your thesis or dissertation. Okay. Now summary and conclusion chapter, there are two parts, one is the summary part, another is the conclusion part. The summary part is the shorter representation of the entire thesis, means starting from your introduction to your objective, to your review of literature, to your research methodology, to your significant results, okay, all are put into the summary part. Okay. Conclusion means, okay, that how your findings is answering the research question, okay, why does your finding is important, okay, and what you recommend based on your result and for the further improvement of your result. Okay. The summary chapter or summary and conclusion chapter generally ended with the recommendation for the further research. Now this recommendation is written based on in the light of your result, significant result, as well as in the light of the delimitation of your study you mentioned in the beginning of the thesis. Okay. And the thesis the chapters of the main chapters of the thesis is completed with the addition of this reference. Okay. So reference section generally mention whatever section or whatever citation you use within your thesis. Okay. Now this another alternative terms, okay, we used with the reference, that is the bibliography. Okay. But you have to understand that reference and bibliography, they are two different, their meaning is different. Okay. So instead of reference we can use the literature cited. Okay. Bibliography means, okay, whether you mention that particular citation within your thesis or within your research or not, okay, from anywhere you collected your idea or you cross referenced, okay, so whether that is included or mentioned in the thesis or not, okay, that should be, okay, included into the bibliography chapter. Okay. If you only mention the cited references, then it is a reference chapter, or cited sources, then it is a reference chapter. Okay. Now there are a number of method to write your references. Okay. So there are popular method is the APA method or American Psychological Association method, okay, that is propounded by this American Psychological Association, or MLA, Modern Linguistic Association. Okay. So they mention the different methods. So there are slight differences in terms of methods, okay, in terms of the reference writing style from university to university. Okay. But two most common are the APA or MLA. Okay. Along with their Chicago, Oxford, all the different famous university also have their own style. Okay. But one thing you have to remember, that this whatever style you follow, that will be uniform, means if you are using the APA style, so from the citation to your reference writing, that should be on the recommendation or which is followed under this APA format. Okay. And now for writing the references, okay, it is a laborious job. Okay. So as a solution, you can use the Google Scholar, means if you find a research in the Google Scholar and click the site, okay, so then it automatically provide you the reference in a number of format like APA, MLA, Oxford. Okay. So these formats are provided, or alternatively you can use the reference handling software like Mendeley is there. Okay. So there are a number of software. Okay. So these software tools are important from the point of view of the writing of your research paper, because for writing a research paper for different journals, they require different style. Okay. So to convert or to translate your references easily from one style to another style, it is better to use the reference handling software. Okay. But for the thesis purpose, you can use the Google Scholar for writing the references. Okay. Generally the reference chapter followed with the appendices. So appendices generally include any document, okay, like which act as a supporting document to your research. Okay. From interview schedule to the part of the scale development, or additional statistics, like when you calculate the reliability or validity of research. Okay, so you start from a number of broad statement and generally you narrow down based on your test result or based on your summary statistics to the most suitable items. Okay, so all these initial items, those are again mentioned in the, even when you are using any statistical analysis tool. Okay, so like I was talking about ANOVA test. Okay, so there are a number of assumption before you use the ANOVA test. Okay, so like there is an assumption of normality of distribution, there is an assumption of the this homogeneity of the variances. Okay, so there are a number of tests for those, like case test is used for the your normality of the distribution, your Levin statistics is used for ensuring the this homogeneity of the variances. Okay, so all these test statistics, additional test statistics is generally mentioned at the appendices part. Okay, and this appendices or appendix, okay, must include in case of the social science research action photograph. Okay, because most of the social science research, those are carried out in the actual field. Okay, which is often, okay, that is not on the direct observation of the your supervisor. Okay, so this action photograph generally add to the reliability of the entire thesis. Okay, so now action photograph is also required for the experimental research also. Okay, so in case of the action photograph in social scientific research, that should be the stamped in terms of the time and date. Okay, or if you can, nowadays all the modern this camera or the your smartphone, okay, they have also the option of the tagging the geolocation. Okay, so that should also be enabled when you take the action photograph. Okay, and I recommend that your entire thesis will be ended with one chapter on the CV with the communication address. Okay, so CV gives the idea about who was this particular scholar. Now you recommend for the further research. Okay, so now if a particular fellow students or your juniors, okay, they want to again replicate your research. Okay, so they may need certain guidance. Okay, so that's why, okay, it is always advisable you add the communication details like mobile number, email, for the sake of the other fellow researcher who may cover this or who may research on this your particular topic in future. Okay, so now in the writing of the whole of this thesis, okay, you should be very careful about the plagiarism. So plagiarism means, okay, so copying the others thinking or others result, okay, without, or others writing, okay, without even mentioning their or mentioning their name, okay, without giving them the credit. Okay, so there are very strict guideline for the checking the plagiarism. Okay, so as I already told you, can use the different plagiarism paraphrasing tool for checking the plagiarism. Okay, so or also you can write after reading the entire findings. Okay, you can write in your own language also, but you should never forget to mention the sources from where you get your understanding or get this particular concept. Okay, so like if you go by so for the plagiarism checking also, there are a number of tools also available, and it is mandatory for the most of the universities nowadays, okay, to give a plagiarism report for your research. Okay, and it generally included at the end of your thesis. Maybe you can put it before as a part of the appendices. Okay, so now plagiarism for the like Indian universities, okay, like the present university I am teaching, like BHU, okay, they need a plagiarism less than the 10%. Okay, so UGC guideline is also telling that that the plagiarism should be checked. Okay, that there should not be more than 14 words in consecutive, or that should be directly copied from a particular sources. Okay, so so you should be very careful about the plagiarism. So now we will conclude, or we will complete our discussion on the writing of your research result with a very useful or timely topic, that is the use of the AI tools. Okay, so nowadays for the last, after the COVID-19, especially the AI tools there are a number of AI tools are available to the students, okay, to add value to their thesis. It can be used for the paraphrasing, it can be used for even for the finding the research problem, or for the cross referencing of your result also. Okay, so now there is a question, I think all of you have question in your mind, that whether you use the AI tool or not. Okay, or if you are using it also, you generally do it, okay, without by taking it that maybe if it is known to my advisor or the supervisor, he may oppose it. Okay, so what do you, or what are the positive or negative part of the using AI tools, whether you should use the AI tool or not. Okay, so one of the so now in this particular regard, so the use of the AI tool depend on your perspective. If you think that you can use the AI tool for value addition of your research, you can always, you should always use the AI tool, but you should not be totally dependent on the AI tool for your entire result. Okay, so now again the whether you should use your AI tool or not, that is again depending on your supervisor, whether he allow or not, because in the absence of the any legal bindings, okay, you can always, okay, so it is the your supervisor who may give you the permission to use or not, okay. But whenever you are using AI tool, you should keep into the mind that AI tool also have the number of limitation in the present form, okay. So one of the two of the most important or serious limitation is the hallucination, means AI tool can actually make up information, okay, it can create information, okay, which is not actually existing, okay, apart from the all other problem. And again, okay, the most of the AI tools, okay, they generally follow the standard American English, okay. So that is again problem in case of the, because we use the British English, okay. So it's easily detectable if you entirely dependent on the entire these AI tools. And nowadays many plagiarism checking software also coming with the check with the AI generated content, okay. And secondly, you have to remember that the over reliance of this ChatGPT like AI tools, okay. So for the any simpling writing task, I am not even concerned about the, okay, if you leave apart the thesis part also, okay. So actually continuous use of the AI tools actually undermine your confidence as well as your ability to write or write in your own language, okay. That as a research scholar you should always keep into the mind, because the thesis writing is not the last one in your life which you are writing. So there will be a number of research report throughout your professional life you have to write, okay. So that basically overuse of the AI tool undermine those particular ability. So with this, our discussion on this this how to write the thesis, okay. So we will conclude today's lecture, okay. So for as always you can go through these particular books as from the beginning of this course I am talking about, along with for this particular discussion, okay. So a number of reference I also added, okay. You can also look into those particular references for further knowledge into how to write your thesis. So with this we will conclude not only this lecture but also this particular course. So thank you and happy learning.